With the November 1 tax deadline looming, we're being warned not to put off the chore. But despite penalties, the ATO also says the task doesn't have to be a daunting one and should result in bonuses for most of us. Michelle Maynard from Carbon is here to walk us through the process. And Michelle, what are the biggest risks to missing the deadline?
So the ATO can actually fine us if we don't lodge our tax return by the 1 November deadline. It's $222 for every month that it's late, up to 5 months worth. So a $1,110 fine if we don't lodge our tax return on time. Now the ATO has said, don't worry, that normally reserve those fines for people that have a payable. So if you have a refund and you're a little bit late, you shouldn't get the fine, but they're saying lodge it before the 1 November deadline anyway to make sure you don't.
Okay, so what are the most important things to have in place when lodging a return yourself?
So you can lodge your return through MyGov, and the most important thing is to make sure that you've got records and receipts for anything that it is that you're claiming. And while a lot of our information is pre-filled from our employers, our banks, our private health insurers, it is actually up to us to make sure that the information is correct. So don't just accept what's in there, make sure that you check it against your records, but you need to keep those records for 5 years. The ATO has up to 2 years after you've lodged your tax return to come back and ask questions, so make sure you've got those records somewhere handy.
Things to avoid, what are the most common mistakes people make, and what is the ATO really cracking down on this year?
So this year they've looked at 3 main areas, which is work-related deductions, rental property expenses and cryptocurrency. Crypto is the big one that I'm seeing with clients coming through. In the last 12 months, a lot of people have dabbled in crypto for the first time. They're not actually aware that trading from one cryptocurrency to another creates what we call a capital gains tax event, so you might have to pay tax on that. The ATO actually has that information, so they are warning people to make sure that you include any crypto trades that you've done. With work-related expenses, they're saying don't just copy and paste what you did last year, to make sure you've got diary entries or records and receipts or car kilometre expenses. If you're going to claim anything, you need to make sure you've got that proof to back it up.
And most employees are in line for a nice refund this year. Why is that?
Yeah, it's actually really good. For 2 reasons we've got that refund. So for anybody who earned between $46,000 and $90,000, you get the $1,080 low to middle income tax offset. That, coupled with tax cuts that were announced in the last financial year that were actually backdated, are making people get some really nice refunds this year. So to be able to get that refund, you need to prepare your tax return and lodge it. So you do that through MyGov or go and see an accountant or tax agent, and they'll be able to get that money back in your pocket.
And before we go, tax time is also scam time, with people being tricked into paying bogus fines. How will the ATO let you know if there is a problem?
Yeah, it's a horrible thing. People do get caught out. So the ATO is going to liaise with most taxpayers through MyGov. So if you happen to get a phone call from the ATO saying you've got a debt and you are concerned, hang up and call the ATO back through one of the ATO numbers on their website, or log into your MyGov and check the inbox to see if there's any correspondence. The ATO is never going to ask you to pay your fines through iTunes vouchers or anything like that. They're going to go through official means of communication. So check your MyGov, check your emails, and make sure if you do get any phone calls that are bogus, hang up and call the ATO back on one of their lines, and they'll be able to tell you what's going on. But definitely no iTunes vouchers.
Okay, well, thanks for all the tips this afternoon, Michelle.
Thanks, Liz.